It's the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast, where we talk about all things consensual non-monogamy, polyamory, open relationships, swinging, and how you can have secure and sexy relationships, no matter how you do them. Now here's your hosts, Tara and Andre.
Hey, I'm Tara, one of your hosts of the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast. Season, you'll notice we're doing things a little bit differently. Firstly, we're going to be having some very special guests join us. And secondly, we're going to be repurposing some really awesome older content from before the start of the podcast when we were broadcasting only to our Let's Talk Polyamory private Facebook group. Included in this is our popular alphabet series, where we went through the alphabet discussing terms and concepts, not only just related to non-monogamy and polyamory, but covering things like sexuality, identity, wellness, and so on. And all of these terms and more are going to be included in our picture book, which is going to be released later in 2020. Super exciting. And now on to the episode.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. How did I make this tie this morning? It was like in the dark. We are here as part of our Let's Talk Poly series. And in this series, we were talking about things starting with the letter D today because we're going through the alphabet.
So, your tie is...
Yeah, I don't know what I did with it today.
It's fine.
Okay. It's my OCD and my perfections. So going back, we were talking about the D's, right?
The D's.
There's so many D's that we came up with. We thought about, whatever starts with D and whatever starts with DD and triple D's and all kinds of D's. And
dildo.
And dicks and donkey dongs and
double penetration.
And dungeons and doms. There's so many things. So what did we end up with?
We ended up with drama, which sounds kind of like,
No, actually, drama's a lot of fun, right? People love drama.
Well, we decided to go with drama because we had our own dramatic interaction past week. And we thought it would be good to talk about it. Because I think for us, it's not something that happens a lot. Would you stop playing with your tie? Or this is going to get really dramatic.
I'm looking at myself. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think it happens often, but every once in a while we have what I would consider a dramatic interaction. And so this is something you may experience yourself, or it might be something that happens more on the regular.
Right.
So we thought this was a good, because some people, drama is like a constant in their relationships.
Yeah.
Thankfully not ours.
In their relationships, but in their lives, right? They find a way to invite it, or to find people who are participating in it, and they see it not only in their love relationship or one love relationship, but in many parts of their lives. And that might be a tell of something that's going on, right? We might want to look at what's going on. But yeah, you and I, this relationship seems to have very little drama. And I think personally that one of the reasons for that is because we do communicate very openly and honestly, and we do talk about things as they're coming up whenever possible. Right? But we did have an incident the other day.
Yes, we're going to go into that for sure. I think we're going to revisit it. So I think I like what you said. Does drama find us, or do we create it? Right. So today we're going to dig into the why around drama and how to address it. I found a really good quote when I was doing some research. It says, drama doesn't just walk into your life. You either create it, invite it, or associate with people who bring it into your life, in which case it's a choice.
Right. So that's that earlier statement, right? That, are we the actors on somebody else's stage, or do we set up the scenario and we invite those players who are going to participate in these things?
Exactly.
And if so, we might then go beyond that. If we find out that we are the producer, the director, the actor, and all that stuff in that, we might want to figure out what of that appeals to us. Why should we want to participate in that? And it might be a perverse gratification, right? It might not be like, who in their life would say, oh yeah, I want more drama in my life. Yeah. I want to suffer. But there's some perverse attraction that makes us invest in it, that we keep creating these scenarios. It's playing out something. It's serving some purpose, right?
Well, in fact, if you're on dating profiles, you'll see that people say it's drama free, like no drama mamas and all that stuff. So it's like a big thing in relationships. So that's why we thought we'd talk about it.
A big consideration.
Yeah. So I think when we were talking about it, when we were preparing for this, we kind of thought drama falls into kind of two categories, like situational and then characterological.
Yes.
Characterological. So in the case that we're going to talk about, like our own little situation that happened, which I think is a good way of illustrating situational, it might be a periodic drama that happens around a particular situation or circumstance, and then things escalate for a particular reason.
Right. You know, it's so funny. It's, as we're saying this, I'm thinking about something that I'd come to realization a while ago. This predates you, if you can imagine a time before that. But there was something going on in my life, and I thought to myself, I could see the situation unfolding, and I thought to myself, but I've done so much to eliminate chaos in my life that I did not want to have more drama. And I think that I was very skilled at being able to do that. So having that awareness, I could say, well, you know what? I don't want to go down this path. I want to find other ways that it doesn't need to be this dramatic. It doesn't have to. And yet there are some circumstances, some instances where people say, I love the drama. Like jealousy, for example. People might say, well, I love when people are jealous like that because it really shows their passion. And I love the drama because it makes me feel alive. And but there are other ways to do it. It doesn't need to be to your detriment. You might have some drama. We love dramas. Or we turn on to, look, Netflix has a whole genre of dramas that
we love it. We love the drama. We love following the story.
But when it's not to our detriment, when it's not causing us so much emotional pain. So we love to watch the drama often in others because we are emotionally removed from it. We are safe. We're at a viewing distance from it, right?
Okay. Well, you're getting into all the content that's later on, but I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Yeah. Okay. Where should we go from here?
Maybe that was a dramatic break. Well, I wanted to give our example as a situational one, and then get into the reasons we create drama.
Okay.
So let's give our example. So a lot's been going on in TNA land for us. So that's the context. A lot's going on.
Yeah, lots going on.
Yeah, like I'm renting my place to rent to someone. We're looking at buying a place in Montreal.
You had to go home for a memorial.
I had to go home for a memorial. We're working on our individual practices and our business and our program and that sort of thing. So lots going on, lots of like balls in the air sort of thing. And I think for me, I generally deal well with those things until I don't.
So you get to a point where you're able to do it, and then you explode. I had a friend, a very dear friend, Paul, and he was like that, the nicest guy you ever wanted to meet. Man, nothing would faze this guy until he'd get to that point, and then boom, it would go off. And I guess like he'd been building up all this stuff, and then he would let out, and he would vent it, and then he'd return back to his normal state, but it would build up. I wonder if you identify with that, because you do seem very rather easygoing, a little controlling at times, a little uptight at times.
Yeah, I totally am. I totally am.
Well, whatever. But it is definitely within acceptable parameters until you hit that point, like me, like many of us, where it's like, okay, I've had enough, and then it gets displayed. Right. And I think that's what this was. This was the perfect storm. There was, the consideration of having to go home and speak before the memorial service, and there's the idea of you having come out to your parents as being poly, and they're not quite being on board with it, and the whole consideration there. Then you got your domestic residence place, right? You're moving. You had gotten that flood. Now you're being displaced. You're living with me. Then we got this other property that we're looking at getting. I mean, there's like a whole bunch of stuff going on. So it's understandable.
Yeah, like for me, the big thing was I was quite tired and hungry, angry, tired. Yeah, so I was feeling quite overwhelmed how much was left to do to ready my place. Because I'm trying to clear, like while they know it's my primary residence, I want to clear out as much space as possible. And it's like the classic scope creep. As soon as you open one door, it's like you've got two other doors that have opened for you as well. So, but during the day, I feel like I kind of held everything together. We were working on dealing with financial people, mortgage brokers. So while this was Thursday, so while you were on like working and stuff like that, I was kind of handling all that stuff. But what that meant for me was that I didn't get to doing the things I really wanted to do that day. And I felt like I had, been really holding it together all day and being super like positive and like, this is no big deal. I got it. And then flash forward to that end of the day, and I was all of a sudden feeling overwhelmed. And I communicated that to you, and I was getting really upset about it. And then what did you do? Do you remember exactly what you said?
I think I offered you a different way of looking at it. And I said, well, it's not that big a deal. Like, we'll get it done. Which
and what is left to do, I think, is what you said. Like, what really is left to do? There's not much left to do.
It doesn't look like much. It's okay. It's all doable. We're together. We'll figure it out. We always do. So I was making an offering that was trying to say, this is something that I acknowledge, but I think that together we can handle this, and it's not beyond our expectation. But the way I said it, and I completely understand, you might have interpreted it as, oh, don't worry, like it's not a big deal. Like, in the middle of my thing, I'm not validating what you're feeling, not really appreciating to what extent you might have felt overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
And you might have interpreted it as being dismissive.
Yeah, I felt like my feeling was being diminished, even though that's not your intent. And I know now that's never your intent to diminish me or downplay it. But you were trying, not consciously, but you were trying to do it from a supportive place. But I was so upset about it that I raised my voice to emphasize my point, because I was like, fuck, like I had held it together and did all this stuff for us all day.
Right.
And now I'm having this moment where I feel overwhelmed, and you're like,
I come in casual.
And I was like,
no big deal.
So then I raised my voice, and then what does that do to you?
Well, it triggers me, because I come from a place where I've been in a relationship before with somebody who was verbally and physically abusive, and that triggers me, and it makes me re-traumatize, and then I go into a very defensive stance, which becomes aggressive, and I raise my voice as well.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you and I were shouting at each other, which isn't our mode of communication, and we were playing out this beautiful drama, right? All of a sudden, we're not addressing the actual articles at hand. We are now off into this emotional state that it is catching on like wildfire, and you're getting animated, I'm getting animated, I'm activated, you're activated, and all of a sudden, boom, it blows up. And it's like, I don't know if we dropped the F-bombs, but we're pretty close to it. And I felt...
Pushed the door and it hit my arm.
I felt as though I was wanting to escape, because it was not trending in the direction I was wanting to go. So my place of security, because I felt as though I was out of control with it, that the situation was out of control, I was to leave. And I opened up the door very quickly, and it banged you in the arm. Again, I apologize for that. It was not my intention to do that. But I think it also demonstrates how when drama gets its own life, it can create its own things, right? And we get out of it, and we watch it unfold as if it's on Netflix, and yet we're living it. And I left, and you left, and then we were left to deal with our own feelings and our own resentments and all that. And eventually we came back to unpack it. But the drama exploded in our face, and we got to be the actors and producers and directors of it.
Of our own drama. That was really unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary. Yeah, it was a great demonstration of our miscommunication, right? I did not communicate well. I did not support you well.
And I didn't ask for what I wanted. I should have said, I really just need, what I really wanted in that moment was not for you to say it was going to be okay. I just really wanted you to just hug me, and that's it. You know what I mean? I didn't want anything else. That's what I wanted. So then we had a situation come up yesterday, I think. Not so dramatic. But you said, how can I help you in this moment? Would you like a hug? And I said yes. So the point being here.
Did you notice that?
Yes, I noticed it.
I listened.
I listened.
I heard you. I listened, and then I was able to communicate in your love language.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? Would you like me to just let you be? Do you need a hug? Do you want to talk about whatever? Yeah.
But when it's a situational drama, I think the important part is our partners aren't mind readers. So they may not know, because even in that moment, it might be different. So I may not have wanted a hug yesterday, even though I wanted one.
Yeah, you might not always just want that hug, for sure.
So that's that.
But that's a good point. So I'm not being charged with having to be a mind reader, nor are you. I have to be able to let it be known what it is I'm wanting and not wanting at that moment, as best as I can. Maybe sometimes we're not exactly clear on what it is we're wanting, and we might just say, I don't know what I want, but right now this isn't, whatever it is. But the idea is that we might adopt a position where we are mindful that we are being triggered, that I am going into this drama, that I am feeling different than I might normally. I'm being activated. I am I'm getting heated in a way, and that awareness will inform me that something's going on. What is the drama? Really, it is an alert of there being some form of a discourse in our feeling. I'm feeling underappreciated, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling too stressed out, whatever it might be, and that we might be able to have a greater awareness. So when we feel that way, it's alerting us to this feeling state.
Right. So situational is one thing, but it could be something as well that's more characterological. So something that you bring about or you seek out or that sort of thing. So I think you started into it, but I thought we would talk a bit about the purposes of drama.
Sure.
So you mentioned alerting or announcing.
Some of the possible.
Some of the possible, yeah. So that's an important thing to say is some of these are in, as well as those two different types of drama. I think we kind of came up with those as just to distinguish that there's sometimes a difference, but I mean, there's probably more, but
yeah, this is not exhaustive by any Right?
Yeah. So some of the purposes, as you said, alerting or announcing. So raise awareness that something's not right.
Right. And then it might also be that we are creating dramas in our lives to kind of avoid intimacy, right? When people get a little bit too close and we get alerted to our feelings of being potentially vulnerable, we might create some type of drama as kind of, a side, what do you call it, distraction. That's going to, throw the person off our scent, that we feel sort of protected by creating these dramas, right? We might also use it as a
manipulation. Yes, sort of the opposite of that. So you're actually, instead of trying to create distance from the drama, you're actually trying to create the opportunity for a demonstration.
Right.
So you might push the other person, I think, to see if you said one of your partners did this previously,
right.
Push the other to see if they're invested enough to tolerate them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, so if I can, and it may be conscious, maybe unconscious, but if I'm feeling vulnerable in some way, I might then want to protect myself by being preemptive. I might create some type of drama that would give you the opportunity to go away, say, oh yeah, screw him, he's an asshole, whatever it is. And what I'm really doing, perhaps, is that I am creating an opportunity that you can say, you know what, I'm not going to just throw him away with all this, that I am invested enough to remain. So I create a scenario of drama with the idea that it is in some ways a test for the other person to remain, and you can demonstrate that you are truly invested.
Do you think this is common, what people do, so if they're feeling like insecure in their relationship, perhaps? Do we know anybody like that?
There may be. I don't want to name names, but yes, actually I know several people who do that. And I think I might have done that in the past myself, that we create these opportunities where the person can really demonstrate, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm feeling vulnerable. I really like you, and I'm not sure how you like me, if you're going to still be around, or whatever it is, and go at it that way. So in a way, we want to find a psychically mature way of communicating our feelings and our vulnerability.
But it's interesting you say that, because when we were doing some of the research, we were reading various articles and stuff. So you always say, like, what's the source of this information? And some of them are just people like bloggers that are writing things. And somebody actually wrote in their blog that they seek out drama. They create drama purposefully to cause excitement in their relationship. Because they're addicted to the intense feelings. And they even said that you have great makeup sex, which I think is kind of interesting. And I'm not sure if I would subscribe to that as a way of creating excitement in a relationship. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Well, it's not my preferred mode, because there is always a danger that there may be resentments, there may be hurt feelings that you're not able to recover from. So it's kind of like playing with dynamite. I think we should find other ways of creating excitement and that. But again,
like the other D words, like dildos and domination,
and donkey dongs and double penetrations and all kinds of stuff. Yes, there's many other ways of doing it that we feel safer in doing so. But again, the idea that this person might want to be creating these dramas as a form of entertainment, is it to offset the possibility of routine or boredom? But is that also really an indication of their feeling too present, feeling too vulnerable in the relationship, that they feel as though they have to create this drama, this chaos, to kind of make a little bit of a buffer so that they feel protected in that way? What happens if they are seen, if they are present, if they truly know that the other person might be present as well? Can they tolerate that?
That's interesting. So if you have different types of attachment, if you have insecure attachment, might you use drama in that way?
That's a great observation. Yes, of course. Why not, right? Why not employ that? It would be able to maintain that position of feeling insecure. Why would we want to maintain that? Because it is familiar to us. Right. Being attached may be the thing we say we want most, but yet it might be so unfamiliar to us, so potentially dangerous, that we prevent it from happening, right? In which way might it be potentially dangerous? Well, I've not really experienced real attachment in the past. And to do so now, what happens if I put all my eggs, so to speak, in this basket? What happens if I really announce myself to be present and then you go away? Where would that leave me?
Right.
So by maintaining this insecure attachment, by maintaining this position, as much discomfort as it might present is familiar to me.
So you create the drama to create kind of like that space, a bit of that buffer sort of thing?
It's a possibility. Some people, yes, will enact that. Can we? But the question is then, how can we go beyond creating these dramas? Because while they may be on a superficial level entertaining or interesting, they may, again, be potentially dangerous to us or to the relationship or how we experience the world. We might find out that we've dramas all over the place, and we might look at how are we that common denominator and what purpose might it be serving. How can we go past that so that we can have closer, more intimate, more loving relationships where we feel secure?
Right. Okay. Well, there's a couple other things that we listed for purposes of drama. I'm not sure if we got them all. Was to show love. So it was saying in some ways we're conditioned to show that jealousy equals love. And I know we've talked about this previously, but we create drama around jealousy because it proves or shows love in some.
Right. Yeah. It's a little bit of
and drama equals love. I think you already said that. Sorry.
No, but the demonstration of jealousy, like if you're not jealous, it's because you don't really care, and that's not necessarily true.
No.
You can be caring but feel secure and not have to make the demonstration of jealousy. So you can love without jealousy. And you can feel jealous and have nothing to do with your investment in the other person at the same time, right? You can just be jealous by nature, and regardless of your level of investment, emotional investment in the person. So the two are not.
No, correct. I agree. And we did do a series on jealousy. I think there's 2 videos. Well, there's sort of 3 because we got cut off at one time. So they're all in the guides. But the other thing we saw was about creating drama as a way of you taking back control in a relationship. Like if you feel like you've lost control or you feel like you need control in a relationship, someone might create drama in order to take that back. I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I could absolutely see how that would happen. If the person feels as though they're letting go or not having mastery or control over the situation, the relationship, they might create some type of chaos or drama that then gives them the feeling that they created it and they're able to control it, and they can inject some jealousy or drama, whatever it might be, as a form of getting that kind of control. Again, the question goes back to what happens if I'm not in control? How could I be comfortable and feeling as though I'm not controlling the world? And I might feel still secure in it.
Do you feel like you created drama in previous relationships?
Great question. Yeah, definitely to some extent, but I'm wondering what might have brought that about. And I was thinking of one relationship where I did create some drama, but it was at the end of the relationship. So I wonder if I'd already made that determination that it was ending. But that's,
It's a whole other thing.
A whole other thing.
Okay. So sometimes people
What made you ask?
No, I'm just curious. I was trying to think of if I feel like it's hard. Well, this is because I was getting into the next section, which is like if this whole idea is how do you know if you're the one that's creating the drama, right? So, it says if you're always in the drama, then you're likely you're playing a part in the drama.
Right. There was something you read about being the asshole, right? If you're always surrounded by assholes, you might be the asshole.
Yeah.
If you are seeing drama played out in, beyond just your romantic relationships or all your romantic relationships, you might have to look at yourself in a more objective way and find out, am I the one who is the common denominator? Am I at play? Do I invite people who are going to participate in this? Do I create these things for some other alternative motive?
Oh, I had another thought, a question, because I know someone we were talking with talked about being needy in relationships. And is being needy or trying to get constant attention, that is also a way of causing drama, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So this thing is, if you're already always in the drama, are you causing the drama? So have people told you that you're dramatic? Like, how do you know if you're the one that's actually causing the drama?
And then will you dismiss that? Will your denial kick in and say like, oh, they're it's them. So it's going to take some level of emotional honesty with ourselves, right?
Right.
That we are, because at the end of the day, wherever we go, we are there. So whether they say it or not, it's kind of irrelevant. We want to be self-aware and be able to be honest with ourselves so we can affect a situation that is more gratifying, more secure, more loving,
right.
more incorporated.
We didn't want to get it into it in this because it would have taken us in a different way. But there was that one article we were reading about like the triangle where it's like you're the victim, the rescuer, or the persecutor, and that how we might think that we're the victim or the rescuer when we're actually the persecutor. So that's kind of the interesting thing. So, so if you're always having fights and all your relationships feel dramatic, you might be the one.
You might be. And if that's the case, you might look at what is of interest in creating those scenarios. What purpose is it serving? And you might be well served by talking to somebody about it, a professional who is trained in this, who might be able to help you. You'll hear yourself. You'll hear how your narrative plays out, the justifications that you offer yourself, the myths that you subscribe to, and how you be able to go beyond that, move past that, to live a life that is drama-free. You know, it's funny because when you have been invested in the perpetuation of these dramas, you might see it almost as a friend, like, well, what's my life going to be like without these dramas, right? It's going to be boring. It's going to be like, oh, this and that. And it's not. You know, nature fills its voids, right? So if you get rid of the drama, you can fill it with something like gratification, like fulfillment, like security. There's a whole bunch of things on the other side as the reward, as the incentive to let go of those drama.
Right. So you see sometimes people in dramatic that have characterological, it's hard to say that word, characterological, that they're constantly breaking up, or they have situations with partners where they're hanging up the phone, slamming doors, you know, that sort of thing. Like you can see that played out sometimes.
Right.
I thought it was interesting. It's not really related to this, but one of that same blogger about having sex, make up sex as a way of justifying drama, was also giving a situation where her boyfriend would be at a bar and she would watch him flirt with somebody and they would be attracted to them. And it was almost like it left a bad taste in my mouth because he was specifically using that person so that she wanted to feel jealous and that they could have sex afterwards. I was like, this seems so like non-consenting.
Yeah, it's a big setup.
Anyways, so how do we address drama in our relationship? So we came up with 5 things. We've sort of hinted at some of them throughout. So these don't necessarily have to follow in a linear way, but these are all parts of ways of addressing it. So I think the first one we talked about was awareness. So being aware, recognizing.
Right. So we should have some level of self-awareness, as most of us do. And we get alerted to the idea that there's this drama unfolding, right? Our emotions go up, we get heated, we feel tense. I mean, there's a whole bunch of indicators as to what is about to unfold, that there is this activation that's going on.
Like, does your life feel chaotic? Do you have this feeling state that things aren't right? So people may not recognize that it's part of their character, right? Because it might seem so normal. So do I feel like I'm the victim all the time? Feel like people don't understand my point of view? Like there's some other questions, you know. So getting aware of the fact that you might be involved in the center of the drama, either creating it or activating it.
Right. Yeah. It seems near impossible and extremely unlikely that it would just be done unto us with no kind of participation from us, right? Even if we're not the creator of it, we are inviting those type of scenarios. So, you know, what's up?
So the second part is then assessing what's causing the drama. So we did mention some of those. What are the feelings indicating?
Right. So is it an indication of our feelings as though we are some way insecure in the relationship, that we are losing control? Are we feeling unseen? There's something
unseen,
that
unheard.
is generally it's the idea that these activations, these dramas, are going to be indicating that there's something off with our feeling state. We're feeling too much or too little of something, right? So you know, you tell me to pack the car differently and I want to do it my way, and the feeling is that, well, am I not enough? Am I not a good enough packer of the car? So I'm feeling my ego is interrupted and I think that I'm being undermined. So the activation is alerting me to the idea that my feeling state is off in some way, that there's something going on. So if I'm able to pause and look at that and identify what the feelings are, well, then it will inform me as to why there is this opportunity for drama, that I should participate in this or create this or whatever.
Right. You just reminded me, I'm just smiling because I realize now that that dramatic incident was actually a double-header dramatic incident, because it started with the situation with the packing of the car, where again, that there was a miscommunication. And then that caused, there was a miscommunication and misinterpretation on both of our parts, I think, of the situation that caused the drama.
Right. So,
and then it escalated and continued, right?
Miscommunication. So we were not communicating our position. We're not communicating our feelings. We were not expressing it, letting it be known.
So that's the number 3 thing, is the way to address drama is to communicate or learn how to communicate better. Right. So what the issue is, what you were saying.
Right. So you're saying that you wanted a hug, whereas I was just wanting to reassure you verbally and say, it's no big deal, we'll get it done. So were we able to communicate successfully with each other? Was I able to hear what you were communicating? Did you communicate what your needs were? So being able to first get that awareness, identify it, and then communicate it is key.
Even when we were packing the car before that, you were packing the car, we had brought some stuff down, and I think I was standing there thinking about if there was enough room in the car. Not that I was questioning how you were packing it, but you stepped back and thought that it was that I was judging how you were packing the car, where I was just having a moment where, is there too much stuff to put in the car?
But wouldn't that be the judgment that you judge that there's not going to be that much room and that he might not be able to handle?
No. It was more that I was thinking, like I was stopping and pausing to think and looking all the stuff going, holy shit, I have so much crap. And I was also overwhelmed as well. That was also going on. So I was pausing with all that in my head.
So how do we then communicate that? So you have this consideration, you know what your position is, but how might you communicate it to another?
It was hard in that situation because you kind of stepped back and immediately thought I was taking over and not trusting what you were doing. And I tried to say, oh no, I'm just looking to see if there's enough space, like if I haven't too much stuff here, or if I can bring more things down, because I was still packing stuff upstairs. In the storage, right? So that was what was going on. So I don't know, how could we have done that better?
But now this is what happens to many people, is that we start looking at the concrete details and they have nothing, very little to do with the actual things, components of what's really going on. So for me, looking back now with a clearer head, I see that I was in fact having issue with my ego, that you were right or wrong, that I imagine that you were saying essentially, well, I'm not really sure of your capabilities or estimations of how you are with packing a car, and I wanted to do it. So I felt as though I was being not recognized, undermined. I was not, whatever it was that I was feeling, it was counter to my ego's estimation of how I would be able to do it. So I was feeling that, but not very good in the moment of communicating that.
And I was getting frustrated because you weren't believing me when I was saying, no, I'm just having a moment where I'm trying to figure out if I have too much stuff. Not that I was questioning your packing it. Like, to me, I didn't make that leap to say that I did details, right? But I think that's where we get caught, right? But I wasn't able to communicate that with. Somehow I'm wondering how I could have communicated that differently, because I don't think you believed me when I said, no, I'm not, I don't want to start packing. And then I got frustrated because then you just stepped right back, and then I'm like, fine, I'm going to throw things in the car.
So what would have been the alternate ending to that? How might we have been able to communicate in a more comfortable way, a more calm, secure, loving way?
Well, we have to also believe the other person when what they're saying is true.
Yeah, but there might not be evidence of that proof.
What do you think? What's the answer?
Well, again, it goes back to that self-awareness, right? Trying to really, pause long enough to put a little bit of a distance between ourselves, the situation, the feelings, and figure out where are those feelings coming from. What is that play that's making me feel this way? There's a reason why I'm feeling this way. Justified or not, true or not, there's something that is creating this. If I can identify that, then I have a better chance of understanding it and then communicating what it is I'm wanting to know.
I think it all comes down to the fact that I was just overwhelmed. So I think I was giving off that vibe, but that vibe, I was just frustrated and overwhelmed at that point. I don't know. I could have just communicated that and just said, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm not questioning your ability to pack the car. I'm just feeling like it's just too much right this second.
Right. And I was also under my own stresses. I have my own things going on. So yes, maybe it wasn't at all about the car. Maybe it's just a question that we feel as though there are things out of our control and that we're being asked by the circumstances for a lot of emotional presence. And it was just, we'd reached the breaking point. So how can we then say, you know what, I am feeling like I am not being nice. I'm feeling as though I'm being asked too much. I'm not getting what it is that I'm needing, or that I'm feeling as though it's being asked too much of me, that we communicate.
Yeah. Or right now I'm feeling this. Articulate, not demonstrate. That's what you always say.
Well, ideally, right?
Yeah.
So we did go into demonstration. We did, by withdrawing, by not communicating. The demonstration, that part of it was kind of regressing. We recoiled
Mm-hmm.
from the situation. Like, I go my way, you go your way, and the communication has a breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
We're not communicating our feelings or our thoughts, which at times is necessary, right? Sometimes we do feel activated and we do need a pause, and that's okay too. But ideally, we want to put words to those feelings. We want to articulate.
Yeah, you don't want to speak from a heated place. Like, sometimes you need to take a break and just recognize that I'm just not sure what to say in this
Mm-hmm.
moment, and I need to take a minute to think it out. Like, I had that situation with my mother on Friday when I went for the memorial. She said something that I found very hurtful, and I didn't want to respond in a way that was hurtful back. So, and it was upsetting. It was triggering for me. So I just said, I just need to step away for a minute, and I just walked away.
Sounds like great self-care.
And she followed me, which was really interesting. I wasn't expecting that. She followed me and then made an excuse for following me, but really wanted to talk to me because I think she realized that what she'd said was hurtful. Interesting.
So you asked for some space. She followed you because she wanted to alleviate her feelings of discomfort?
I said I wanted space. I just said, okay. And then I just stepped away. I don't know if I actually said I needed space. And I said, I understand that. I think I said, I understand that's how you feel. I think I said, I don't feel the same. And then I just said, I just stepped away. Anyway, okay, so number 4, invite satisfaction via a solution or a remedy. So if we are feeling like we know what the solution is, so in our situation that I wanted a hug, I could have if you can, and that's sometimes hard to do it in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Communicate what I feel that remedy could be, or work with your partner to find one.
Yeah, you can often say, I'm not sure what I want right now, but I just feel upset. I feel that this isn't working. I feel that I need something, whatever it is, but that we, again, make the gesture of trying to communicate what it is we're wanting and not wanting, right?
So could you say then that if you don't know what the remedy is in that moment? I think that's a really good, I really like what you said there.
Sure.
Like, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. I'm not really sure what I need. But could you say?
Yeah,
what do you think
why
about?
not? I think
no,
that's
but
great.
what do you think about saying that? What about saying I don't? It's not helpful when. Because I think I said that, and then I think you weren't listening, and then is it better not to say that, or I don't know? I'm just debating.
So what happens if you say that?
Like what you're saying is not helping me in this moment. Does that sound negative?
Right. Does that? Yeah, exactly.
Does that continue the drama?
Right. So what you're saying isn't helping right now. So if we have consideration that it might be received in some type of accusatory or some way that might cause some type of injury, could we reframe it in a way that doesn't put the other person necessarily on the defensive? That's not what I'm looking for right now, or I'm not sure what I'm wanting, but I'm just needing some space. There must be some way of communicating it without there being
accusatory. Yeah, instead of saying that's not helping, maybe I could have just said, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. I'm not really sure what I need. So can I just have a moment?
And do you feel comfortable in announcing that and saying, I think I just need a moment?
Comfortable with that with you, but I feel like it's easy to do that with you because of the way you are. But I think some people may find it difficult because someone, like you said, will follow them. Like you said, my mother, did she follow you even though you said you needed space? Because I think in some situations, people will follow the other person. Like, no, I want to deal with this now.
Right.
People tell me that all the time. Like, they're like, I need a moment. I need a space. I worked with a couple before, and the one partner needed some space and introspection. Right. And then the other person would just keep coming at them because they wanted it to be resolved. And they created this drama of wanting it to be resolved, which was causing this difficult part between them. Right.
So the person who announces that they need some space, need a pause, they are making this demonstration of self-care. They're saying that this is a little bit too much for me at the moment. I need a pause. And the other person like, well, no, let's go at it. Like, we need to talk about this. It can be received as rather aggressive, actually. So we have to be mindful of our own objective, right? Our own agenda, wanting to continue it, but we have to be mindful, how is it being received? How is it making the other person feel? If they are alerting us to the idea that they are feeling some level of discomfort, that they're not consenting to want to continue the conversation, then we need to abide by that. We need to be able to say, okay, you know what, right now they need a moment. We'll revisit this in a moment or whenever we are, but we're going to have to bring into question the idea of consideration, that they are not wanting to do this, and I must be able to tolerate that and listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you insist on going at it and the other person feels unsafe. And when we feel unsafe, we go into a defensive mode, which very often is aggressive, and then it escalates and creates more drama.
So I would say I'm gonna point the finger at me on this, is that I know that with us that I've done this before, because I just want it to be resolved. I want to get rid of the feelings.
Right.
I don't want to feel like things are unresolved. And this is a common thing that happens with people, which is why it's sometimes difficult for people to deal with this on their own, because you may have gotten to a point where this is a bit of a repetition. And
so can we tolerate our own feelings of discomfort? Can we tolerate the intolerable? Can we raise our level of tolerance for frustration? Not that we should be a doormat, but that we are able to maintain a position without feeling as though it is too much for us. And we might not have that vocabulary yet, those skill sets yet. And that's why it is very beneficial at times to speak to somebody who is equipped to help us with that we have a neutral person that is able to offer us some support.
Yeah, because sometimes we can't see it. And then sometimes it's helpful if somebody wants the break, that the break isn't indefinite. Maybe you work together with someone to define, like, what does that mean when you're taking a break from a conversation, when you go back, and that sort of thing. Like, how do we resolve through these issues? So so that's number 5, is to get support. So because if we are stuck in a repetition, it can be hard to get out of it. And sometimes we need the tools and to work with someone to do that. So whether it's us or somebody else, get the support you need before it gets like beyond. I guess you're never really beyond the point of repair. Maybe it feels that way. I don't know. What do you think?
That's a big question.
Yeah, that's too big of a question.
I don't know that I could give an absolute.
No.
I think in some situations, unfortunately, yes, it is beyond repair. And in other circumstances, no, we can definitely affect the change. It's a case by case. But the idea of getting support, it occurs to me, I did an intake with somebody the other day who is from a different continent. And in their continent, it's not common for people to be in therapy. And there's a stigma, the consideration that you might be sort of weak in some ways, or there's a consideration that there's some grave pathological issue if you were to speak to somebody, when in fact, recognizing that you can benefit from it and allowing for that expression is in fact a sign of strength, that you are strong enough to go to it and say, you know what, things could be better and I'm willing to do something about it, as opposed to just saying, well, it's just the way it is, or I could never do that, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Well, it's people sometimes say they don't think they can ever get past their jealousy or creating the drama in their life. I was like, it's impossible. But I never believe that that's the case. I think there's always something you can do, or at least learn from it, so that you don't keep repeating that.
Sure. Life beyond the jealousy. Well, it's kind of like people who are smoking cigarettes and think, well, if I give up the cigarettes, what would I have then? It's like, it's my best friend. So if I can't imagine a world without jealousy, what would it be like? I can't imagine it. But there does exist life beyond jealousy, beyond this drama.
Right. So drama. So tell us what your dramas in your life are, or how you deal with them, and
how do you avoid them?
How do you invite them? Love to hear from you in the comments.
Yes, indeed.
That's a good point. We don't like going to bed with conflict, so talk it out before sleep. Well, sometimes you can.
Yeah, but there's 2 philosophies to that, right? Stay up and right, so you should not go to bed with resentments. But at the same time, when that whole idea comes in, right, when we are tired, maybe it's not the best time. We might say things that are not the way we might say them otherwise.
Yeah, well, the couple I used to work with, they would say that they would stay up all night trying to resolve it and they could never resolve it. So in that case, it might be a good idea to sleep, where you can decide that you might pick it when you might pick it up again.
Well, yeah, hopefully we come to an agreement and say, okay, you know what? It's getting late. Why don't we talk about this in the morning?
Yeah.
And hopefully you are free of the drama to say that. Right? We are able to rationalize it in the calm and loving, supportive way. We have consideration for the other person as well. It's a big part of it.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
You're taking off your tie. We're not even off the air.
No, it was bothering me. I'm gonna have to redo it. But anyway.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. And we always check and respond to your comments.
If you want to have secure, satisfying, and sexy relationships, check out our Poly Newbies digital course. It's 7 modules of all you need in one place. And as a thank you to our listeners, we're offering it at an exclusive price. Link is in the show notes, plus all the other awesome things we talked about today. Thanks for listening to the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast with TNA. Don't forget to subscribe and give us some love on your favorite podcasting platform. You can check out the show notes for any of the links to the courses or information we talked about today. Thanks, and have a fantastic and sexy day.